In 2019, we had 1 in 10 homes that sold in October and November that had a suite in them. Well, now we nearly have 1 in 5 detached and semi-detached homes on the market in Calgary that have a suite. Now, what about homes over $1 million? Well, we're at 10.4 months of inventory currently on the market. If nothing else came on the market, it would take until October 2025 to sell everything off that is over $1 million and has a suite in it at the current pace of sales. Today's plan, we're going to discuss the stats on what is happening here in Calgary and the surrounding cities. Should you consider a suite for your next home? And does having a suite actually help you qualify for a home that you're hoping to get? Well, let's jump in. Now, I gotta say, I was shocked when I pulled the numbers. Rebecca, my business partner, mentioned to me that she has noticed a trend of way more homes with suites on the market, specifically homes above $1 million. I didn't fully believe it, but when I pulled the numbers, I was shocked. She has a few clients that have asked her to ensure that their home searches don't include suites because there are so many that are showing up in their searches. And a lot of these clients are looking at $1 million and over. So here's what I found. From 2015 to 2019, we averaged 9% of our market sold during the months of October and November having a suite in a detached or semi-detached home. In 2024, for the same months, there were 14%. It jumped from 9% to 14%, and currently 23% of the active listings in Calgary have suites in them, and it's broken out as 60% are illegal and 40% are listed as legal. Narc! And during that same time, the median price, it has increased by 147% from 2015 to the last 60 days, going $462,000 up to $682,000. So a lot has happened over the last number of years, so I want you to take a look at this chart quickly. As you can see in Calgary, over 60 days, there was 2,561 sales of detached and semi-detached properties. Of that, 369 had suites in them. So those numbers that I was quoting, you can clearly see there's a big difference in the amount of homes that have suites in them. And what is crazy is the amount of homes that have suites that are active on the market right now. So here's how it breaks down in months of inventory, broken out of the different price points in Calgary. Anything under 2.5 months is considered a seller's market. 2.5 to 4 is more balanced. 4+ is sitting in a buyer's market. So homes that are priced under $500,000, we're sitting at a 1.3 months of inventory. Not surprising. Detached, semi-detached properties under $500,000, there's not very many of them. And when it comes to suites, you got 1.3 months. Now, homes that are between $500,000 to $750,000, it's a little bit of a different story. It jumps a little bit to 1.8 months of inventory, but still we are in a seller's market. Now, when you jump to $750,000 to $1 million, it jumps into basically a market that's just flirting on a buyer's market at 3.9 months of inventory. However, when you go to a home over $1 million and you look at those kind of numbers, you are sitting at 10.4 months of inventory. That's a long time and a lot of inventory with not a lot of people buying them. So are builders really doing their research when it comes to these homes? Do they see a trend that I'm not seeing where there's a lot of people who are going to be wanting to get into a property over $1 million here in Calgary and they need a suite in them? I mean, there's different reasons for buying a suite and there's some really great ones. But for example, Crown Park by Brookfield Residential, it is a wonderful new kind of area that's being built along Shaganappi by the golf course there on the west side of the city. They're building executive infills that are 2,400 square feet, priced around $1.3 million, and you guessed it, they have a 1-bedroom suite in them. This is just one example of so many places that have builders that are building properties over $1 million that have suites. And when you look at the number of active properties in Calgary, 60% of all active homes, detached, semi-detached, that have a suite in it have been built between 2020 and 2025. I mean, That's insane. 60% of the homes on the market are built within the last 5 years. Now, 2024, 41% alone have been built this year in 2024.
So I wanted to interrupt this video really quickly to tell you something special we've been working on. We have been looking at the past content that we have created, and we are putting that on Spotify for you. So jump on to Spotify. If you like listening versus always watching on YouTube, go on Spotify. We're going to be uploading a lot of our greatest past content for you, as well as all of our content moving forward. So go ahead, jump into the description, grab the link, head over to Spotify, and we will see you over there. But let's get you back to this video.
So one thing I found myself asking was how many of these suites are legal versus how many on the market are marked as illegal. Well, check this out. I put together a map where we basically looked at all of the properties that sold over the last 60 days, detached, semi-detached, and of these, some of them have suites, some of them don't. Some of them are illegal and some are legal. So I just want to show you, let's focus on Calgary. So if we look at everything that sold, this is all the detached and semi-detached properties, okay? Now, if we take out the properties that didn't have suites, this is what we're left with. Interesting. So now here are all the properties that had a suite in them. Now, what if you only wanted to see the properties that were illegal? Well, here's all the illegal suites. Just so you can see it, here's all the legal ones. You can definitely see a difference in where these are all located. You don't see a ton down in this area in the south. Really, the south itself is really low. But when you get up into the north, some of these older neighborhoods, they definitely have a lot more suites. And then when you get up in some of the newer neighborhoods and even in the northeast, but if you look at the illegal suited properties, I'll take the legal ones out, you can see a huge amount in the northeast. You can see a lot kind of in the mid-north part of the city. And well, there's your answer. Like when you look at legal compared to illegal in the south, like look at that. There are a lot of illegal suites that are being built in the south part of the city as well. When you look at Airdrie, it's actually saying that only one of the sales over the last 60 days was legal and the rest were all illegal. That's kind of shocking, actually. I didn't realize that. And then when you look at Cochrane, you got about half and half. I think it's about 4 and 4, 4 and 5 when you compare them. Chestermere, it's like Airdrie. Only one legal place and the rest are all illegal. And if you go down to Okotoks, only one legal place and then 3 illegal places. So there is a really good chance when you're buying properties that you're gonna come across illegal suites. Well, let's look at here. Let's take the legal ones out and no suites at all. Well, all of a sudden, that is a lot of options and a lot of different types of properties, all different price points, right? And you can see all the different sales that happen and the red ones have the illegal suites. So if you are in a position where you're wanting to buy a suited property, and all you're finding is illegal property suites, and you really want it to be legal, or you find a home that you want to convert and have a suite in it and it's going to be legal, but you don't necessarily have the cash. One of the things, a big tip that we are seeing more and more people do is called purchase plus improvements. So here's how purchase plus improvements work. So once you find that property you're looking at, instead of just borrowing money for the property itself, you can actually ask the bank for extra money to fix it up too. The bank agrees to lend you this extra money, but they add it to your house loan. So you only have one big loan to pay back instead of 2 separate loans. Usually you can borrow up to 10% of what the house is worth for the improvements, but usually no more than $40,000. However, there's always going to be exceptions, and there are some lenders that have no top limit as it makes sense basically based on the property. So talk with your lender to figure out if that's an option for you. So what type of people are benefiting from suites? Well, there's 3 different types of people. And the first one is someone who has a family member that isn't able to afford their own home. And it could be a parent to a child, but also could be a child to a parent. And either way, they're not able to get their own space. So we've seen both situations happen where parents are kind of the main ones or the children are the main ones, and then the other comes along with them. So sometimes inside that family unit, maybe you have 2 different families, you have kids and you have parents, right? The kids have one child themselves and you have parents that are aging. So if that group, the one parent may, or the combo of the parents have a lot more cash, right? So they have equity from something else, from over the years, savings, whatever it may be. The kids might have a really good job, but they don't have savings. And so a combination of that could actually help them out, where perhaps the parents stay in a suite or the kids stay in a suite, vice versa, whatever it is, depending on the situation, the combination actually helps that family unit out. They're able to get in, and maybe there's some free babysitting, which would be fantastic for those who have kids. So the second group who should consider a suite is someone who's not ready to downsize from their current home yet. So for example, you might have been living in Calgary for a long time and you just aren't ready to give up a detached property of your own. You don't want to go to a condo, you don't want to go to a townhome, you're going to live there part-time, for example, and you want to downsize, but you just want to really right size. It's not getting smaller, it's just making a shift for this phase of your life. And you're going to be gone for a bunch of months, right? So one thing that you could consider is actually adding a suite to your property or moving to a home that has a suite. And that suite in the basement, you could end up, or maybe you rent out the upstairs and you stay in the basement, either or, you end up maybe Airbnb-ing it, short-term rentals or long-term rentals, whatever it is. But what it does is it actually can free up some of your cash. And by freeing up some of your cash, because you can actually put a small mortgage on that property, pull some equity out, you know you're planning on renting it out for X dollars per month, which will pay down that mortgage over the years. And now you have a little bit of cash that was tied up in your equity. And you could end up using that to go purchase a second property, to do whatever you want, put in investments, whatever you want. But there's an opportunity for some of those people, then that might work, because in that life stage that you're in, this might actually be a great change and a great situation. And the benefit here for you is that now, if you're doing a short-term rental, let's say over Christmas, you have out-of-town family coming in, they could stay there. And they have their own unit, really. And so over holidays, over times where you want to host people, you want to gather people, you still want to do that, this might be a way that you might want to do that. So the third person that might want to actually qualify for a suite is someone who is basically trying to find a larger space, but doesn't have enough equity or doesn't have enough income to accommodate that. So having a suite can offset some of that income, and then you can get into the bigger property. So one of the agents on our team actually did that. He had to upsize his home because he has 4 kids. They definitely needed more space, but he was able to find a much larger property in the same neighborhood. So all the kids stayed in the schools, everything else, and it had a suite in it. And he was able to make this happen and only increase his monthly cost slightly. So if that's you, I want to show you this mortgage calculator that I put together and kind of show you a couple scenarios so you can actually see some numbers and what it looks like. All right, so on this mortgage calculator, I have about 2 or 3 different scenarios that I want to run you through. I got these numbers from Adam and Hugh, who are some of the mortgage brokers that we work with. So if you're looking for someone, please let us know. We can connect you with them. But what the scenario is looking for a property that's around $800,000. And you have a property already, so you're able to take some of that equity, about $280,000, and put it towards this property. So you have 35% down. So you have a good amount of down payment. In this scenario, your household income is about $125,000. You have no major debts, all that kind of good stuff. You would qualify to buy $800,000, but you'd be looking at $3,500 a month. And maybe that's just too much to swallow for what it's going to cost. So here's what you can do. Now, if you went and found a property that you kept the same price at $800 and found a rental in it, and all of a sudden you're able to add $1,400 to your basement rental cost, now your cost per month drops from $3,500 down to $2,100 a month because now you have a rental in it. The other thing is you're also going to be able to afford more. So what's going to happen is you could go up to $870,000, according to Adam and Hugh, and turn this into, say, hey, you know what? Or let's say you find an $800,000 property and it doesn't have a basement suite, and you want to add to it, you do a purchase plus improvements, you add $50,000, let's say, and the lender says that's good to go, and here we are. So now if you have an $850,000 purchase price, now your adjusted mortgage is going to go down to $2,300 compared to buying an $800,000 home, spending $3,500. You could put a suite into it, have the $50,000 on the purchase plus improvements type mortgage, and here you are. Now, one of the things that I put a caveat out there that some of you are going to catch is that a lot of you are going to say, hey, you can't do 100% of your income from the rental towards your income for qualifying. There are one or two lenders that allow this. So another scenario that I can show you here is on $150,000 income, but you have less equity. So if a family had $150,000 as their household income, they would qualify for about $725,000 based on roughly $100,000 down payment. So what does that look like if they are able to add a suite? So again, if they were able to add a suite and it was bringing in about $1,400 a month, they could jump up to about $800,000. So here you'd be spending about $4,100 a month. Like that's a pretty big mortgage payment. And everything else. The mortgage itself is $3,400, but including everything is about $4,100. So if you're able to, again, add $50,000 and you turn this into a suite in the basement, so let's say $775, because you could qualify up to $800, and you add in your $1,400 a month, well, now you're able to get your monthly cost down to $3,000 instead of the $4,400 at $775. So after all of this, and you're still not sure about buying a suite in a property based on price points, based on what it is, all of that, and you're looking for more of an affordable option like a townhome here in Calgary, then don't buy a townhome without watching this video. We'll see you over there.